Have you ever wondered what might happen if you turned away from the pursuit of intimate relationships and looked inward instead? What if the key to unlocking true inner peace, boundless creativity, and profound self-discovery was hidden in the silence of abstaining from desire? Imagine a journey where you peel away the layers of distraction, revealing your most authentic self and connecting with a deeper, transcendent power that resides within you. This is not about denying yourself joy or suppressing human experiences. It's about choosing a different path, one that leads to a richer, more meaningful existence. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarded with messages that link our value to our relationships and the pursuit of intimacy. But what if we dared to challenge this narrative? What if true fulfillment wasn't about who we're with, but about the quality of our relationship with ourselves and the universe? Buddhism teaches that there is an extraordinary power in choosing to step away from external distractions and focusing instead on spiritual growth. This is the journey of discovering your deepest potential, free from the relentless cycle of craving and attachment. In this exploration, we'll uncover how abstaining from intimacy can lead to heightened self-awareness, increased inner peace, and a deeper connection with the divine. We'll share powerful stories of transformation, examples from real lives, and delve into the lessons that show us how turning inward can bring about a profound shift in our lives. Are you ready to embark on this transformative journey? A journey that promises not just to change your perspective, but to fundamentally reshape your experience of life itself. Let's begin. 1. Heightened Self-Awareness. Journey within. The first transformation you experience when you choose to step away from intimate relationships is a profound shift in self-awareness. It is as if you have switched off the external noise and have begun to listen to the whispers of your inner self. Let me share a story. Imagine a young man named Ravi who spent most of his adult life moving from one relationship to another, believing that his happiness was tied to the affection and approval of his partners. One day, Ravi decided to take a break from it all. He chose to remain single for a while to understand why he felt a constant need for validation. He practiced mindfulness meditation, and slowly, he began to recognize a pattern. His pursuit of intimacy was a means to cover up his fear of being alone. This fear had ruled his actions for years, distorting his perception of who he really was. Buddhism teaches that by observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment, we can peel away the layers hiding our true selves. Ravi's journey is a reflection of this. He learned to embrace his fears, accept his loneliness, and find contentment within himself. The process wasn't easy, but it gave him a new perspective on life, one in which he no longer needed another person to validate his existence. The heightened self-awareness that comes from abstinence isn't about repressing desires. It's about understanding them. We all have desires, some more intense than others, and by understanding where they come from, we can learn not to be controlled by them. This self-awareness is the first key to unlocking a more authentic life. To understand this process more deeply, let's dive into the practice of vipassana meditation, a core technique in Buddhism aimed at cultivating self-awareness. Vipassana, which means to see things as they truly are, encourages practitioners to observe their bodily sensations and thoughts without attachment. Ravi spent time in a vipassana retreat, where he spent 10 days in silence, observing his mind. He discovered old fears that he never knew existed and realized how much of his pursuit of relationships stemmed from a lack of acceptance of his own imperfections. Over time, this meditation allowed him to see these fears as transient and impersonal phenomena rather than intrinsic parts of his identity. Moreover, understanding desires isn't just limited to intimacy. For instance, another person, Priya, found that by stepping away from intimate relationships, she started noticing her addiction to social validation. She would constantly post on social media, awaiting likes and comments to feel significant. As Priya became more aware of her inner motivations, she began to detach from her reliance on external validation. Instead of posting to receive attention, she started creating content that resonated with her true self, and this shift brought a newfound sense of fulfillment. By abstaining from intimacy, she realized that her desire for validation was the real source of her suffering. This profound awareness allowed her to grow beyond superficial needs, diving deeper into meaningful personal expression. 2. Increased inner peace, breaking the cycle of craving. Imagine constantly chasing after something, a feeling, a person, an experience, in the hopes that it will bring you lasting happiness. This is what many of us do with intimacy. We see it as the ultimate source of comfort and happiness, yet the pleasure derived from it is often fleeting, followed by a craving for more. Buddhism likens this cycle to trying to quench thirst by drinking salty water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. When you step away from intimate desires, you allow your mind to rest. You're no longer caught in the ups and downs of expectation and disappointment. Consider Sarah, a woman who was deeply in love with her partner. The relationship brought her happiness, but also pain. She often found herself anxious, wondering if her partner loved her as much as she loved him. Eventually, they parted ways, and Sarah was devastated. In her grief, she found solace in meditation and Buddhist teachings. Gradually, she learned to detach from the idea that her happiness depended on someone else. She began to experience peace, a deep, abiding peace that came from within, not from any external source. This inner peace is cultivated through mindfulness practices, such as anapanasati, the mindfulness of breathing. When Sarah focused on her breath, she realized that peace could be found in the simplest of acts, being present. Each inhale and exhale became an anchor to the present moment, a reminder that happiness does not need to be sought outside, but could be found here and now. Over time, the turbulence of her emotions settled, and her anxiety was replaced by a gentle tranquility. The teachings of Buddhism remind us that true peace is not found outside. It's cultivated within. By letting go of our attachment to external sources of happiness, we create space for an inner tranquility that is unaffected by the chaos of the outside world. There's a profound lesson here. The more we look outside ourselves for peace, the further we move away from it. By shifting our focus inward, we recognize that we already possess everything we need to be truly content. Another aspect to consider is how much energy is consumed by desires. Take, for instance, a business executive, James, who found himself constantly distracted by romantic pursuits. He noticed how much time he spent texting, planning dates, and worrying about the future of his relationships. After deciding to abstain, he channeled that energy into his passion for music. The result was astonishing. Not only did he feel calmer, but he also composed some of his best work during that time. The inner peace he gained was not just the absence of turmoil, but the presence of creativity and fulfillment that emerged when he no longer fed the cycle of craving. 4. Purification of energy, the flow of life force. In Buddhism, energy is seen as something sacred, and intimate relationships involve a significant exchange of this energy. When two people come together, their energies mix, sometimes harmoniously, but sometimes not. By choosing to abstain, you allow your own energy to remain pure and undisturbed. Think of a river that becomes muddy when too many streams flow into it. When you allow the water to settle, it becomes clear again. In the same way, abstaining from intimacy allows your energy to purify and settle. This purified energy can then be used for higher purposes, such as meditation, creative pursuits, or simply being present in your life. Consider the story of a hermit named Li, who spent years in isolation in the mountains of China. His goal was to purify his energy through solitude and meditation. Li believed that intimate interactions, while natural, often distracted from the spiritual journey by creating attachments and energetic entanglements. As he spent time alone, Li's energy began to transform. He described it as a fog lifting from his mind, leaving clarity and a sense of lightness in its place. This purification process also led Li to experience a heightened connection with nature. He could sense the subtle changes in the wind, the whispers of the trees, and the warmth of the earth beneath his feet. His purified energy allowed him to feel connected to all life, and this sense of oneness brought him immense joy and fulfillment. The concept of energy purification is not limited to hermits or monks. Anyone can practice this in their own way. For example, Maria, a yoga instructor, decided to take a break from dating for a year. She used this time to focus on her yoga practice and deepen her meditation. She found that her energy levels increased, her intuition sharpened, and she felt more connected to her body and spirit. Maria often described her experience as a journey of coming home to herself, where she no longer needed someone else to feel complete. Purification of energy also means letting go of the emotional baggage that often accompanies intimate relationships. Many people carry unresolved emotions from past relationships, which can weigh them down and prevent them from moving forward. By taking a step back from intimacy, you give yourself the space to heal and let go of these burdens, allowing your energy to flow freely once again. 5. Deeper spiritual connections, beyond the physical. When you remove the distractions of intimate relationships, you create the space for deeper spiritual connections, not just with the divine, but also with yourself and the world around you. In Buddhism, the ultimate goal is to experience a sense of oneness with all that exists. Consider the story of Ananda, a devoted Buddhist practitioner who spent years in solitude, meditating and seeking enlightenment. Without the distractions of intimate relationships, he found that his connection with the universe deepened. He could sense the interconnectedness of all things, the way a breeze carried the scent of blossoms, the way the sun warmed the earth, the way his own breath was part of a larger rhythm of life. This sense of connection brought him a joy that surpassed anything he had previously known. Deeper spiritual connections are not about denying love or intimacy. They are about expanding them. Instead of focusing on one person, you open your heart to the entire universe, experiencing a love that is boundless and unconditional. Take, for instance, Eleanor, who after ending a long-term relationship, decided to focus on her spiritual journey. She began practicing metta bhavana, or loving-kindness meditation, in which she generated feelings of love and compassion for all beings. This practice expanded her capacity to love beyond the limitations of a single relationship. She felt a deep connection to everyone she encountered, strangers on the street, animals, even the trees and flowers in her neighborhood. Eleanor realized that true love wasn't limited to romantic relationships, but was a boundless energy that could be shared with all beings. In Buddhism, this sense of interconnectedness is a core aspect of the path to enlightenment. The more you cultivate this feeling of connection, the closer you come to realizing the ultimate truth, that all beings are interconnected, and that the boundaries we perceive between ourselves and others are illusions. By stepping away from the distractions of intimate relationships, you make room for this deeper understanding to take root. 6. Enhanced focus on spiritual goals, walking the path. When you are no longer distracted by the pursuit of intimacy, you can focus more intently on your spiritual journey. This is a core principle in Buddhism, to prioritize spiritual growth over worldly pleasures. Imagine trying to meditate while your phone keeps buzzing with notifications. Each buzz pulls you away from your practice, fragmenting your focus. In the same way, the constant pursuit of intimacy can fragment our focus, pulling us away from the deeper questions of life. Who am I? Why am I here? What is the nature of suffering? Without these distractions, you can dedicate yourself more fully to your spiritual practices, meditation, mindfulness, study, and service. This focus helps you progress more quickly on the path to enlightenment, bringing a sense of fulfillment that is not dependent on anything external. For example, consider an individual named Mark, who had always been interested in Buddhism, but found it challenging to dedicate time to his spiritual practice. He was constantly caught up in the complexities of his romantic relationships. After deciding to step away from dating, Mark found that he had more time and mental space to focus on his spiritual studies. He began attending Dharma talks, meditating regularly, and even participating in retreats. As a result, he felt a profound shift in his understanding of the Buddhist teachings and experienced moments of deep insight that he had never achieved before. 7. Increased creativity and inspiration, unleashing the mind's potential. One of the unexpected benefits of refraining from intimate activities is the surge of creativity that often follows. When you are no longer focused on fulfilling desires, your mind becomes free to explore new ideas, possibilities, and expressions. Many artists and writers have found that periods of abstinence lead to increased creativity. Think of Leonardo da Vinci, who is believed to have channeled his energy into his work, producing masterpieces that continue to inspire people to this day. By redirecting the energy that would otherwise be spent on intimacy, you open yourself to the creative flow that lies within all of us. Take Susan, a writer who had been struggling with writer's block for months. She realized that much of her mental energy was being consumed by her tumultuous love life. She decided to take a break from dating and instead poured her energy into her writing. The result was astonishing. She not only finished her novel, but also felt more inspired and connected to her creative process than ever before. Susan described it as if a dam had broken, and the ideas that had been blocked for so long were finally able to flow freely. This increased creativity is not just about producing art or solving problems. It's about expressing your true self. When you are no longer driven by the need to seek fulfillment in external relationships, you can turn inward and discover the unique gifts that lie within you. Creativity becomes a means of self-exploration and self-expression, a way to share your inner world with others. 8. Spiritual purity, cultivating the inner garden. Spiritual purity is not about being morally superior. It's about aligning your life with your deepest values. When you refrain from intimate relationships, you create a space within yourself where spiritual growth can flourish. It's like tending to a garden. You remove the weeds so that the flowers have room to grow. In Buddhism, this practice is linked to right conduct, which involves living in harmony with your spiritual values. By letting go of desires that do not serve your highest good, you make room for qualities like compassion, wisdom, and kindness to flourish. Consider the practice of the 8 precepts, often observed by lay Buddhists on special occasions or retreats. One of these precepts involves abstaining from sexual activity. The purpose of this practice is not to suppress desires, but to create a space where deeper spiritual work can be done. By refraining from intimacy, practitioners can focus on cultivating wholesome thoughts and actions, thereby purifying their mind and heart. For someone like Alex, who decided to observe the 8 precepts for a month, the experience was transformative. He found that without the distractions of intimacy, he was able to focus more fully on his meditation practice. He also noticed a shift in his interactions with others. He became more patient, compassionate, and understanding. Alex realized that spiritual purity was not about denying himself pleasure, but about creating a foundation for deeper, more meaningful experiences. 9. Greater emotional stability, finding the middle path. Intimate relationships can bring great joy, but they can also bring great pain. The highs and lows of love, attachment, and desire can create a roller coaster of emotions that is difficult to navigate. By stepping away from these relationships, you create space for emotional equilibrium. In Buddhism, emotional stability comes from non-attachment. This doesn't mean you stop caring or feeling. It means you stop being controlled by your emotions. You can experience joy without clinging to it, and experience sadness without being overwhelmed by it. This emotional balance allows you to move through life with greater ease, responding to challenges with grace, rather than reacting out of fear or anger. Consider a practitioner named Emily, who found herself caught in a cycle of emotional highs and lows in her romantic relationships. She decided to take a break from dating to focus on her emotional well-being. Through meditation and mindfulness practices, Emily learned to observe her emotions without getting caught up in them. She began to understand the impermanent nature of her feelings, that both joy and sorrow would come and go, like waves on the ocean. This realization brought Emily a sense of freedom. She no longer felt the need to cling to positive emotions or resist negative ones. Instead, she learned to ride the waves of her emotions with equanimity, finding a sense of peace in the midst of the ups and downs of life. This emotional stability not only improved her own well-being, but also allowed her to engage in healthier, more balanced relationships with others. 10. Deeper connection with the divine, the ultimate goal. Finally, one of the most profound benefits of abstaining from intimate activities is a deeper connection with the divine. In Buddhism, the divine is not seen as a separate entity, but as the ultimate reality that underlies all existence. When you let go of the pursuit of intimacy, your mind becomes quieter, your heart more open, and your spirit more attuned to the subtle energies of the universe. You begin to experience a sense of oneness with all that is, a realization that lies at the heart of Buddhist spirituality. This connection brings a sense of purpose and fulfillment that goes beyond the temporary pleasures of intimate relationships. It's about understanding that your life is part of a larger cosmic plan, and that your true purpose is to awaken to this reality. Consider the story of Tenzin, a monk who spent years in meditation, seeking to understand the nature of existence. By letting go of worldly desires, including intimacy, Tenzin found that his mind became increasingly attuned to the divine presence that permeates all of life. He described his experiences in meditation as moments of profound unity, where the boundaries between himself and the world dissolved, and he felt a deep connection to all beings. This connection with the divine is not limited to monks or ascetics. Anyone who chooses to step away from the distractions of intimacy and focus on their spiritual journey can experience this sense of oneness. It's about quieting the mind, opening the heart, and attuning oneself to the deeper truths of existence. This connection brings a lasting sense of peace, purpose, and fulfillment that far surpasses the fleeting pleasures of the material world, a journey of transformation. The decision to step away from intimate relationships is not about denying oneself pleasure. It's about choosing a different path, one that leads to deeper self-awareness, inner peace, spiritual growth, and a connection with the divine. It's a journey that requires discipline, courage, and a willingness to face oneself honestly. Each of the lessons discussed, heightened self-awareness, increased inner peace, strengthened willpower, purified energy, deeper spiritual connections, enhanced focus on spiritual goals, increased creativity, spiritual purity, greater emotional stability, and a deeper connection with the divine are steps on the path to enlightenment. This path is not for everyone, and it's not without its challenges. But for those who choose to walk it, the rewards are profound. It's about finding a happiness that is not dependent on anything external, a peace that cannot be shaken, and a sense of purpose that transcends the fleeting pleasures of life. It's about becoming the best version of yourself, one who is free, compassionate, wise, and deeply connected to the mystery of existence. Ultimately, the journey of abstaining from intimacy is a journey inward. It is a journey that asks us to face our fears, to let go of our attachments, and to discover the infinite potential that lies within each of us. It is a journey of transformation, one that leads us to the deepest truths of who we are and our place in the universe. And in that discovery, we find a sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment that no external relationship could ever provide.